Alrighty, welcome everybody. We are going to be getting started for today. Welcome to our Warrior webinar with a focus today on the Shidler College of Business Direct Admit Program. My name is Kaden Iwasaki, and I'm one of the admissions counselors here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa in the Office of Admissions. I want to go over a little bit of housekeeping rules before we get started for today. First and foremost, this webinar is presented in a style in which you can see us, but we can't see you. All of your mics have been muted, so you can't talk or you can't ask questions verbally in this presentation. The chat has also been disabled, so if you have any questions, comments, or concerns as we go through this presentation, there's going to be a Q&A or question and answer function that you can add your questions to. When you add a question, if you see that question on the Q&A section and you have a similar question, then what you can do is you can upvote that question and we'll be able to view it and we'll be able to answer it live after the presentation has finished. Today's event will be recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube within 48 hours. So if you miss important details or you had to go to the bathroom, don't worry. We'll have that recording and we'll send it out to you as soon as we upload it. So without further ado, let me introduce Shauna. She is the freshman admissions advisor for the Shidler College of Business. Everybody, please give a warm welcome. Shauna, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Sure. Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Shauna. I am the admissions advisor for the Direct Admit program at Shidler. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Shidler College of Business and then also about the Direct Admit program. So you can get all of your questions answered also at the end. So let's get started. The Shidler College of Business, you may be wondering why we're called the Shidler College of Business, and that's because one of our alumnus, Jay Shidler, donated $228 million to the business college in particular. And so that has really gone to help us make improvements in the academic side of things, in the structure, so the grounds themselves, lots of scholarship opportunities for our business students, and recruiting faculty members. So that's how you'll kind of see throughout this presentation, we've spread that out. We are consistently ranked right now top 15th for the best colleges from US News and World Report. We are consistently ranked in the top 25% for AACSB. So that might not mean much to you yet, but that is a global accreditation for business schools. And so this is one that many of the high-ranking schools in the world share this accreditation. And so once you graduate and they see that you are an AACSB accredited institution that you've graduated from, that definitely looks really good to grad schools too. So thinking about next level. These are the majors that we offer at the Shidler College of Business. So coming into Shidler, traditionally, it would be junior students. So you would usually know already by junior year what you want to major in. If you're coming in as a direct admit student, that is a student who is coming in freshman year. You do not have to have this decision made yet. Usually by the end of your sophomore year is when we would like you to have a major in mind, because then we'll start gearing your class selection toward that major. But with all of our majors, usually you are jumping right in. So you'll have your pre-business core classes that you'll usually work on during your freshman and sophomore year. Your business core classes, that is going to be a sampling of all of these different majors. So if you are still undecided coming into the Shidler College of Business, you will take finance classes, you will take accounting classes, you will take your management classes. So you'll have that strong foundation. And all of that is resulting in your Bachelor's of Business Administration, or the BBA, that you'll receive from the Shidler College of Business. So with probably our most popular majors, it teeter-totters back and forth between finance and our marketing program. And so those two would be the largest. With our finance program, what's really nice about it is you can really build your own program. So they have lots of different options within the program that you can select classes from. So we have some real estate courses in there. We have some insurance classes in there, international focused finance classes, classes focused on students who are going for their CFP. So lots of different ways that you can shape that program to best suit your needs. And then our marketing program, one of the newer classes that started by our department chair, Dr. Alden, is a sustainable marketing class. And what's really interesting about that class is they are selecting organizations, typically locally, and they are nonprofit or they're for-profit companies. And with these companies that focus on sustainability, many times they have a great passion, they have mission, they have drive, but a lot of times they're not really focused on the business side. And so that's where our students are coming in and consulting with these organizations and helping them strengthen the business aspect of their organizations. So lots of different ways that you can get involved within our programs. Typically, it is about 5 classes that you're going to take for each of our majors. And so that allows our students to double major. If that's something you're thinking about, it would just be the addition of 4 to 5 classes to be a double major at Shidler. All right, so at Shidler, some of the things we're known for in the graduate side too, we have country-specific master's programs. Our master's programs are also accredited by the AACSB. And we have focused particularly on Asia. So our location in the middle of the Pacific really helps us to get our students out there. So if you are interested in Asia in particular, because we're halfway to Asia, you could take part in something like our Asian field study. Hopefully soon that can get launched again, but it is a program where they send students out over the summer and they are shadowing different industries in China. They've gone to Vietnam, they've gone to India as well. And so shadowing companies there and really get involved, not just like superficial looking on the surface, but actually being involved in the work that they're doing, because they are there for several weeks at a time, and then they jump to another country. So that is something that you could take part in the future. And then we also have our international conferences that we offer that Shidler is the host for. One of the big ones that is still going, even though there's not too much travel right now, is our accounting research conference that happens annually. They're doing that virtually still. So our faculty, many students worry with coming to a school the size of the University of Hawai'i at Manoa is that, oh, I'm only going to have TAs. I'll never see faculty. It'll be so hard to get a hold of them. And that is not the case at Shidler. 90% of our undergraduate classes are taught by faculty members. I really feel like Shidler is a small school within a much larger school, because within Shidler, once you come up to our building, all of our faculty are there, our advisors are there, we're all in this one area. So it's easy to get a hold of us. And we have world-renowned faculty members doing active research that students can participate with them. And they're coming from all over the world. So really great resources for our students. And I think a big part of it also is that they are very approachable and they want to help. So don't feel intimidated that, oh, these are college professors, I don't want to ask my questions. They are definitely eager to be out there helping you. Right now it's finals for our students on campus. And so it is still a busy time for students coming to visit professors during their office hours, getting their last minute questions answered before they head out to exams. And they're happy to do that because they want to see you succeed as well. I am a part of the OSAS, that's the Office of Student Academic Services. And so in particular, we are working with you from admission. And so we'll talk about that a little later, the 2 different ways you can enter Shidler. I'm assisting with advising, so helping with course selection, making sure we're getting everything accomplished that you need to graduate. We're working with scholarships, so we have our over $1.1 million of scholarships that's awarded annually. And part of that would also be awarded to our students who are studying abroad, and then ultimately getting you to graduation. So another aspect of Shidler, we have our own internship office specifically for our business students. So that program really works on building the relationships with companies. We have over 300 companies that participate in our internship program. And even now, where things are a little starting to get back to normal, but we still have the virtual options for students who are doing internships. But of course, we love to get our students in person doing their internships too. So we have both options right now. And internships can be used for college credit. You can do 3 internships for college credit with Shidler. And so you could actually do more. I have a student who's a junior right now. She's already completed 12 internships. And so initially, she was doing it to kind of discover where her passion lies by really immersing herself in that environment and seeing what was the best fit. But many of our internships are also paid. So she's doing it to gain the experience, and she also gets a part-time job paycheck, basically. So you could do that too. And it does look great on your resume that you have all of these different experiences. So that is something that I probably didn't think about when I was in college. I was just thinking, let's get the classes done, let's get the grades I need. But internships, and that also helps you to network and build a name for yourself within the industry that you're interested in. And because of that, 88% of our graduating seniors are typically placed in full-time positions within 3 months of graduation. And so that is still looking pretty accurate, even with the current situation that we are in with COVID right now. These are some of the companies that our students have gone to. We have different companies that will specifically recruit on campus. When that is an option, they will fly in and they will just schedule interviews back to back all day. So you don't have to worry about going somewhere else to do an interview. We actually have a room on campus that specifically serves that purpose. But you could definitely do an internship with one of these organizations, and that would help you once you graduate as well. Many times our students are offered positions once they graduate. So you could use an internship both ways. I mentioned the student who did internships earlier on to help her decide what she really wanted to do. But more traditionally, they're done maybe junior or senior year. And that is really helping to build your name before you graduate and get that resume boost, things to list on that resume as you're getting ready to graduate. This office also helps with doing mock interviews. They also assist with career placement throughout your life. So not only when you are in college, but also once you graduate as well. For financial support, there's the $1.1 million of scholarships that is awarded annually. A chunk of it will go out to our business night, and that is specifically for business students. And those are actually cash awards that are given out to students who are like the best freshman, highest achieving sophomore, but also within each major, they award these scholarships or these awards out to them. So about 17% of our student population will receive some Shidler specific aid. And that could be on top of something that you receive if you do something like the New Warrior Scholarship or any of the scholarships coming out of General Manoa. Our Shidler scholarships can be added to that. So here's the breakdown. Our direct admit program has a little over $120,000 of scholarships that we award annually. A chunk of it will also go to our study abroad. And so that is specifically for Shidler students who want to go abroad. I mentioned the business night. Then we also have the Pacific Asian Center for Entrepreneurship. And finally, just general merit scholarships. And so merit scholarships are typically awarded for the academic year. So it's right about now that our students are applying. They have up until about February, and then we'll start reviewing an award for the following year. So once you have a Manoa GPA, you would be able to apply for those Shidler merit scholarships. All right, so going abroad, this is definitely something that we are excited about because it is specifically for Shidler. We have scholarships ranging from about almost $6,000 to $5,000 depending on where you're going. And these scholarships you would apply for the semester before you go abroad. So at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, we have two different ways that you can go abroad. We have our Manoa International Exchange Program. And so this is a tuition swap program. So about a year before you want to go is when you would apply, listing your top schools, and they will find someone who wants to basically swap places with you. And so luckily, many students want to come to Hawaii. So it usually is not a problem in finding a person to swap with you. This semester, we have quite a few students that went out to South Korea, and I have about 3 that are currently in Copenhagen. So even as things are starting to open up again, those are some of the countries that allowed our students to go. I have 1 in Hong Kong right now too. So as things open up again, we'll definitely see. Japan is always a popular location. So hopefully for next semester, they are going, but with our scholarships, there's also the study abroad program. So with that program, it's a group of Manoa students and a Manoa faculty member that will all go up together. So if you are a little hesitant about going abroad, maybe you've never gone international, you could consider the study abroad program, and it's more of a group setting. They plan excursions and things like that. So that's definitely a good way to kind of ease into it. But typically it would be about junior year that students would usually go abroad. So we do have partnerships with schools across the world where you can take your business major classes while you're away. So a lot of students kind of think, oh, I need to save my general ed classes so that I can take that when I go abroad. Not so in our case. We have places where you can get your major related classes. Usually junior year is like the sweet spot of when you can go abroad, when it's best to go abroad, because you have more options in the classes that you can take while you're away. Also, a big part of Shidler is our Pacific Asian Center for Entrepreneurship. And so they are focusing on any student across the UH system, including community colleges, anyone who is interested in starting their own business. And so they host workshops throughout the semester. These workshops could be having people who have made it and they share their experience, and you can kind of pick their brain about how it was when they started their different organizations or different businesses. We've had lots of local smaller businesses too. We've had Asato's, Sherbert. We've had Via Gelato come. And so usually they bring food samples, but right now we're virtual, but it's still a really nice way to connect with these entrepreneurs. And then we also have professionals. So we have lawyers, we have accountants that will come so you can ask your questions as you are really getting ready to start your business. And because this is open to all students at UH, we also have some students in our biomedical area that have ideas for businesses they want to start. So we host co-finder events where you can meet. So maybe you're interested in entrepreneurship, but you're not maybe the idea person. You just want to be a part of that experience. You can come to one of these co-finder events. And so that's where you can meet other people who are interested in starting their business and form stronger teams. And so that's what this picture here is depicting. They have competitions, and that the award is seed money to start your business. And so ideally, they are hoping that students will have everything they need to launch their business before they graduate. They have a really nice space up in Shidler where it's just a work area for students. And so you can meet with other professionals there or just meet as your teams and develop your plans there too. So here's some photos of that. They have the area where they can just meet and gather, and then they have an area for workshops. So it's just a really nice area. And you can even reserve it if you have to meet with someone on the weekend, and they can give you access to that as well. All right, so how can I join Shidler? There are 2 ways to join us at the Shidler College of Business. For many students who applied, you may have already gotten your acceptance letter too, but it would be listed as an exploratory business student. And so exploratory business students typically will work on their pre-business core requirements, which include things like your calculus, your accounting, your economics classes, your speech course, all of that. complete that, and then apply, usually at the end of sophomore year, into the Shidler College of Business. And then in your junior year, you would start taking your business specific classes. The other option is joining us for our direct admit program. And so this is a group of about 100 students that is selected every fall semester to start taking business classes right away. So we're mixing in the business classes with your general education courses, with your custom classes for the direct admit program. So here's kind of a breakdown, a visual. You are typically, as an exploratory student, starting with us in your junior year. Usually about 300 students are admitted each year through the exploratory business route. One of the requirements is that you must have at least earned 60 credits by the time you apply, and then you need at least a 2.5 to be admitted to Shidler. On the other hand, there's our direct admit students. We actually just increased this number, so this should say 100, but for the fall 21, we accepted 100, and for the fall 22, we will also do 100. So a little higher requirements. We want to see incoming students who have at least a 3.5 high school GPA. If you have test scores, 1,200 on the SAT combined, or a 25 composite on the ACT. And if you do not have test scores, then we do have a personal statement that we have students complete. So some of the benefits of being a part of the direct admit program is early admission. So you're starting with us in your freshman year versus your junior year. Access to our direct admit scholarships. And those typically are for 2 years. And then you have also access to all of our Shidler Merit Scholarships. We have tailored classes. So in your first year with us, they are classes that are reserved only for the direct admit student population. So we have, in your first semester, our Business 200, and that's introductory to business. And you are kind of going over all of our different majors in that first class. One of the things they did this year, one of our professors challenged students to start a business in their teams that they were divided into. They were given $5 seed money, and they had to kind of create a company, create a product or a service, market it, and then with the revenue, one class actually decided to donate it back to the direct admit program scholarship fund. So that was really nice of them to decide to do that. But it was really interesting to see, with only $5, one team made over $240 within the span of just a few weeks. So really kind of getting those creative juices flowing early in a freshman year. And then in your second semester, you'll take our business law class, and then you'll start taking our business core classes in your sophomore year. So it's one DAP required course each semester, and we are still working on all of your pre-business core classes and general ed courses. And another benefit is access to Shidler, access to our advising. So I am the direct admit advisor in particular. So direct admit students work with me for their first 2 years. We have our career and internship office specifically for Shidler, and then our study abroad funding too. So here's another visual of the requirements. No separate application for the direct admit program. So when you are applying, if you have not already, you're just going to indicate exploratory business. And what will happen is they will send the information on to the Shidler review team. We are looking for at least a 3.5. So that is a minimum that we need to see. And then if you have test scores, great, we'll review it. If not, you'll receive an email for students to complete the personal statement. And so the personal statement, we are asking that students complete by March 1st. So we definitely still have time. If you're still working on your scholarship or on your application, you still have time to also complete that personal statement if you're considering the direct admit program. But direct admit program personal statements are reviewed as they come in. So even before March 1st, we will probably start reviewing and sending out invitations. So an invitation is sent out to students who have been selected by our decision committee, and then you would decide if you want to join us. And it is just the first 100 students that will start in this program in the fall semester. All right, so just to give you an idea, the personal statement question is actually not too challenging. We're just asking why you're interested in Shidler College of Business in particular, and what you plan to do with your future degree. So really, we just want to see that you have thought about these things and you have a plan. Of course, we're not going to hold you to it and be like, well, you told me back in your freshman year that you wanted to do this. That's not the case at all. We just want to see that you are thinking about these things, thinking about what your next steps are too. So here is my contact information. The best way to get a hold of me right now is probably my email. So it is Shauna with a double A and a P at hawaii.edu. If you are interested in doing a one-on-one appointment with me, we can do that too. So just email me and I'll send you a link so that you can access my particular Star Balance account in order to set up an appointment with me. All right, so now we can start with any questions. If anyone has any questions right now.
For those of you who have any questions, please write in the Q&A section of our Zoom call. If there are no questions within the next few minutes that pop on up, some of us here have a few questions for you, Shauna, or you can probably just go talk about some frequently asked questions that students have asked you in the past. We have one student that asked if they can go back to your email page. Thank you.
Yeah, so right now, email is probably the best way to get a hold of me. And then I'll send you out the link. Through the link, we can do a phone interview, not interview, but we could do a phone appointment or a Zoom appointment. Zoom is probably better because then at least you can see my screen and I can talk to you about different things. But either is fine if you're not comfortable with Zoom.
All right, Shauna, we do have one question in the Q&A section that asks, how successful are the students that pursue entrepreneurship after graduating?
Okay. Okay, so entrepreneurship. So I actually want to point out that there are two different things for entrepreneurship. We have the major, so you can definitely do the entrepreneurship major at Shidler. Then we also have the Pacific Asian Center for Entrepreneurship. So that one is not major related. That is just something you do outside of your major. So you have those two options. We definitely have students who will pursue things like accounting and then also do entrepreneurship through the PACE program or the Pacific Asian Center for Entrepreneurship. So you can do that. With our entrepreneurship program, for the specific stats, definitely our career services office have that. But for that particular major, a lot of the organizations that our PACE program reaches out to are alumni. And so they are people who have already launched their businesses. It can be on the smaller end. And then on the much larger end, we have definitely another area within our management program is family businesses. And so we have quite a few that are kind of carrying on their family business and launching new areas within those businesses. But I guess if you have any in particular that you're wondering about, but I definitely see both. There's a smaller scale, the small launch, and then there's like the much larger, like 100+ employees. So it just depends like what you are trying to go for. And with our PACE program, they're really shifting the way that traditionally businesses were launched. Traditionally, it was a big focus on getting your business plan together, and that business plan is going to be gold because you take that to try and get finances to launch your business. But now they're looking more at, with all the data and research analytics that we have access to, really tailoring the service or product much earlier on to better suit the either the market that you're trying to reach, so that you're not going through all the process and then finding out, oh, there's no market for what I want to bring out. And so they are focusing more heavily on that in the front end to ensure that you have a strong market base in which you can then build your business plan.
So I have another question in the Q&A, Shauna, if you can just answer it as best as can. The student already got some mail that said that he got selected in quotation marks, but you mentioned a personal statement that students have to submit. He's asking if you would, does he just need to reserve a spot or something, or is he already in? I'm assuming that the personal statement you have to send to like a general email or through you. If you can just elaborate on that.
Sure. So there are two different ways that students are joining the direct admit program. So more traditionally, I would say pre-COVID, 3.5 GPA, and then if you have the test scores, at least 1,200 SAT or 25 ACT. If you have those things, so Drew, if you already sent those things in, that is what it was used in addition to your personal statement submitted on your application to decide if you would be invited. And then in that case, if you already received our invitation in the mail, then it would just be a matter of doing the intent form when you are ready to officially tell us, yes, I want a seat in the direct admit program. For students who did not submit test scores, because University of Hawaii at Manoa is a test optional school, that's where the specific Shidler statement comes in. And so students who have the 3.5 but no test scores will be emailed a personal statement link. And that's where you just click on that link, fill out the Google form, and then our decision committee will review that.
Awesome, thank you. I have another question. While studying one of the business programs, are there any opportunities for students to work on their business ideas with the help of faculty?
Sure. So you could definitely, I mean, sometimes it kind of happens organically where you find a professor that you really like and you just start working with them. But because of the PACE program, there are specific faculty members that have kind of volunteered to be a part of that program. So maybe you don't come across a faculty member that are like, oh, they're awesome, they're just like me, I want to work with them. Then there are faculty members that have specifically signed up to help. One of them in particular is Dr. Paranol, and he's amazing. He's, I'd say he's probably in his 30s. And so he's still, you know, he's really intelligent, really down to earth, really wants to see our students succeed. So he's a great one who helps with the PACE Center too. So you could work with him, definitely. Our direct admit students have the opportunity actually to have him as a professor in your first semester already.
Awesome, thank you. We have another question. How will dual enrollment credits affect students in the direct admit program?
Okay, that is a great question. So as long as this is your first time as a full-time freshman, you will be considered for the direct admit program. And so we typically do have many students who come in doing either early college or dual enrollment. And so that just helps us speed things along. And so we are still crossing off things as they come in, transfer in. So those students typically can graduate a little earlier or pursue multiple degrees if you're interested in doing that. And so there's definitely no downside of having dual credit or early college coming in. That just helps us focus more on what it is you want to do and focus in on the business classes instead of usually the general ed that your early college would take care of.
Thank you. I have another student asking, is there a word limit for the personal statement or a recommended word count?
So we do not have a word limit. Typically, students will submit about 2 paragraphs. So I would say it's really whatever you feel would best fulfill the question or answer the question. So I would probably say like 1 or 2 sentences, probably not a good idea, but really just putting in your thoughtful answer and that should be fine.
All right, thank you. So a student is asking regarding SAT scores in the Q&A section. If they took their SAT back in 2019 and received a score above 1200, would you accept that score? Or if they took a new score and maybe scored like lower or higher, let's just say lower in this example, would you still accept the test scores back in 2019?
So we will review whichever scores you submit, regardless of when you took it. And we are looking at your highest score. So maybe you take it again and you do better, then we'll look at the better score. We won't look at the lower score. If you have already been accepted, I guess for admissions, this is the question. Can they still submit updated test scores once they were accepted?
So we're test optional. So we really don't review test scores, especially if a student has already been admitted. It's like, why would they even need to send it into us or our office in the first place? So yeah, I mean, like, if you want to, you can, but we're probably just put it on your student record and that'll be it, you know.
So if in this case, the student did not submit her test scores and is trying to get into the direct admit program without doing the personal statement, if you could send an unofficial copy to me by email, then I can add that to your Shidler review folder.
Alrighty, so I have another student. I know you've already answered this before, but just to reiterate, how many people get admitted into the direct admission program? And does it matter if you submit your test scores personal statement now rather than next month? Is there kind of like a deadline for that?
Okay, so each fall semester, we accept 100 students. And so we send out the invitations kind of on a rolling basis. So we've already sent some out for this year, but we will continue to review usually until about March or April. We do recommend that students complete the personal statement by March 1st, ideally. We will still accept it after that. We'll review it, but it is then more on a space available, depending on what space we have at that time.
Does anybody have any other questions? Please write in the Q&A section. I have a student that asked if you could show your email again one more time.
Sorry. Yep, there's my email. So let's see. Oh, okay, so question is if there's an advantage to submitting earlier. There's no advantage technically, but definitely submitting it earlier, you would then find out sooner if you're going to be invited to the direct admit program or not. So there is that benefit. But let's say you're still working on your application now and you're worried like, oh, people have been invited already. We give all of our students until May 1st. And so that is like the universal date for you to make a college decision. So you still have until then. Once you've been invited. So it's not like you receive the invitation, now I must let them know right away. You still have time to decide which program or which school is right for you.
So I have a question following up with that. There will be less seats available if the student kind of waits until the March 1st deadline to submit their personal statement, and then as a result of that, right, there'll be less spaces in terms of how many students have been admitted already and whether or not a potential student might get in as well.
So I mean, students can complete their intent form whenever they're ready to, but typically over like the last 3 years, usually after March, we still have seats available. It's usually not until May 1st that we really see a surge of students making that college decision. So submitting by March 1st, you should still be okay.
Alrighty, thank you. I have another question in the Q&A. What kind of extra scholarships come with the direct admit program to Shidler, and how can one get them? So basically, is there an application that a student needs to submit to receive those DAP scholarships?
So our DAP scholarships, there's no additional application for that. So from the students who are invited, they are initially reviewed. to see if they qualify for one of our scholarships, because our donors set certain requirements, where they want to see students coming from, what types of GPAs, things like that. And so we send out an initial, at the time of invitation, an initial round of invitations that include a scholarship. And so those scholarships would typically be about $500 per semester. And then before probably around March, April is when we also kind of wrap up the scholarship review. So that is just reviewing the information that we have that was used for your admission. So no additional step is required to qualify for a scholarship.
Any other questions for Shauna? You can write in the Q&A section. In the meantime, I actually do have a question for you, Shauna. Is there any clubs that are specific for DAP students that they can join? I know you said that they're in a cohort, basically the 100 students that enroll. Is there any clubs that they can join in the business program?
So we don't have a specific club for the direct admit program, but they definitely do have access to all of our Shidler specific clubs. And that could be major specific. And it might not even be your major and you just have an interest in it. Something like our accounting club is not major specific. And so probably about 60% of our student population is involved in a student organization. And so that's actually a really great way to meet new people. Even in a virtual format, they are still meeting online or gathering in small groups. And so they are doing things like company shadowing, they're doing mock interviews. So really building on more of your soft skills. I just saw that one of my third year DAP students, she's actually the president of one of our clubs, our best business executives. And so that is pretty exciting, but you would have that opportunity as a direct admit student to start in those clubs right away. And typically these clubs are really excited to have DAP students in there because you are potentially going to be a part of the program or their club for 4 years. And so that's how our DAP students enter into leadership opportunities right away too.
Thank you. I have another student asking in the Q&A, what exactly is an exploratory business degree at UH Manoa? If you can just please elaborate on that.
Sure. So it's not a degree exactly, but it is basically the way that you enter into the university is under the title of exploratory business. And so during your first 2 years is when you would typically be an exploratory business student. You're working on your general education requirements. So that's the English, the math, the history type courses that everyone needs to take. And then you're also working on your pre-business core classes. And that would include things like your accounting, your economics, our calculus course that we require, our computer competency, and our speech class. And so during that time, you're working on all of those classes. And then toward the end of your sophomore year is when you would apply to the Shidler College of Business if you're not a part of the direct admit program. And so then you would receive your Bachelor's of Business Administration or your BBA degree from Shidler.
Thank you. Any other questions for Shauna? In the meantime, I also have another one, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I know that you talked about study abroad and international exchange experiences for business students. And I know that you mentioned that students have gone to South Korea before to take courses for fall, spring semester, or for the academic year. Is English the primary language used in those business courses, or does a student need to know Korean in order to go to South Korea to take those courses?
Great question. So what works out great for us is that English is the language that these international courses are taught in. So regardless of what country you go to, they will have classes in English. So you don't have to worry about any language barriers while you're abroad. Of course, once you leave the campus, leave the classroom, that's where you might need some language skills. So in preparation for that, some of my direct admit students have taken the Korean 101 class just to have an understanding of the language so they can get by, but it is not a requirement. Certain schools in Japan may require that you take their language classes, but it is case by case depending on the school that you end up going to. What's nice about studying abroad too, as a Shidler student, is that it will also fulfill your Hawaiian second language or culture requirement for your general studies. And so going abroad for a full fall or spring semester will fulfill the 4-class requirement for your degree. So it is definitely a win-win on that side too. You could even go to an English-speaking country. Typically, Australia has been pretty popular. We've had some students go out to Roehampton in England, and so you could still get the Hawaiian second language or culture requirement fulfilled and your study abroad opportunity. If you are thinking international business, I actually want to mention, let me backtrack to that. So of our majors, international business is the only one that is a double major only. And so what that means is you would need to have one of these other areas as your foundation, and then you could also add the international business on. So one of our requirements for international business is an international integrative experience. So that could be fulfilled by going abroad. It could be doing an international research project with one of our professors, doing an international internship, or going up into the 300 level of a language. So any one of those 4 would fulfill that requirement. Most popular definitely is going abroad. And so that's why we have those scholarships that helps make it more affordable. If you do something like the Manoa International Exchange, you are still paying your Manoa tuition. And then the $5,000 to $6,000 will help with like the housing and things when you are away. So definitely makes it more achievable. If you are ever bored, and go to our shidler.hawaii.edu page, under student life, we have blogs. So our students who are currently away, you can see some of the things that they're up to. You could also check out our partner schools from that same student life area and see some of the schools that we have agreements with. And so that just makes it a little easier to go abroad, where we have already done the work of seeing this class is equivalent to our class here at Shidler. And so when you're selecting courses, you know that it'll count for credit when you return home.
All right, thank you, Shauna. You answered my question. Very well. Does anybody have any other questions? Please write in the Q&A section. I'm just going to give you folks a few more seconds. If not, then we're looking to wrap up in just a bit. Final questions? Final questions? All righty, well, it doesn't seem like we have any other questions. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I want to also thank Shauna for doing a great job at explaining the direct admit program at the Shidler College of Business. Just a reminder for those of you students who have yet to apply yet, definitely recommend applying before our January 5th priority deadline in order for us to review your applications early and for us to come to an admissions decision. The earlier you submit an application, basically, the earlier you will get a decision, and the faster that Shauna can review your applications and figure out if you have been accepted into the direct admit program as well. We have one student question before we finish. Do you folks offer campus tours? Yes, we do. You can contact our Office of Admissions. One of us is going to be putting the contact information in the chat so that you folks can sign up for a campus tour there. For those of you who have already submitted your application and maybe waiting on an application decision or admissions decision, I highly recommend that you keep checking your email, specifically your spam folder. For those of you who, we've gotten that before. Please keep checking regularly. Sometimes the acceptance email does get sorted out into the spam folder. So be on the lookout for that. And if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding admissions questions, contact our office. Any questions regarding the direct admit program for business, you have Shauna's email in the chat. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming today. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.